Welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial it's about how to get started when reading patterns. Yes, I've done a tutorial series in the past where I've shown you and dissected patterns down for you in order for you to basically graduate the program, but a lot of questions still come in. Where do you get started? So I'm going to go over 5 things that I think is important when it comes to reading crochet patterns, because literally the world of crochet patterns is waiting for you to explore once you can get past the starting point. So let's begin those 5 steps now. First of all, step number 1 is the desire to learn. You want to learn crochet patterns? If you have the desire, you will learn. Remember that learning crochet patterns is a step-by-step process. When your parents gave you a book when you were 4 years old, they didn't tell you to read the whole thing. They helped you, and every word that you used is basically the springboard to the next part of learning to read. So for example, if you learn the word at, what rhymes with at? It could be cat, pat, bat. And that's how you learn to read. So learning crochet patterns is a lot more quicker. It won't take years to do. But it's the process of being able to identify with what you're looking at so that your brain can pick up. So when you read the word DC for double crochet, your mind's just automatically going to say that because you're going to train your brain to do that. So the first of all is you must have the desire to learn and not quit right off the very beginning of reading. Step 2 is understand the way that you learn. Are you a person that requires cheat sheets? Do you need to take notes? Do you want to write on your patterns? For example, some people think it's unholy to write on their crochet patterns. I don't have a problem with that, and you know, that is something that helps me in order to work through a project. So what I do is that I go and find a pattern, and then I print out a cheat sheet that I kind of have in lamination so that when I'm looking at the pattern, I can quickly refer to the cheat sheet. And over time, you're going to get rid of that cheat sheet, but it's just going to help you. You're going to read along and it's going to see DC, and then you can quickly look at your cheat sheet and say DC equals double crochet, and eventually as you're working your way through the pattern you won't be looking at that anymore, but you might run into something else like ST, which is short for stitch. So create learning props in order to help you in order to learn how to read crochet patterns. Let's move along to step number 3. Now step number 3 seems very obvious, but it's carefully read the patterns. This is where I fall down almost every time. This scarf that I'm wearing was so hard for me in order to do it because I was misreading the directions when I was doing it. And what you need to look for is specifically look for periods, look for commas, and say things out loud to yourself. So double crochet into the first stitch and look for things like hyphenations so that you can understand. So in your cheat sheet, when you see chain 1, yes, you're going to chain 1, but if you say chain and then it has a hyphen or a dash 1, that doesn't mean to chain 1. It means that you're referring to something within the pattern. So very carefully read your pattern step by step, and for myself I have to say it out loud in order for me to comprehend it. And once you get onto it, you can just move along to the next step. So carefully read your patterns. So step 4 is build on the knowledge that you already know. So for example, I'm about to learn to read patterns. I'm going to go look at it. I'm going to go pick up a sweater that is like has a gazillion stitches, has some terminology that I've never heard. Don't do that to yourself. We have the human thing to do. All of a sudden I'm going to learn crochet and I'm going to do this massive afghan that requires like gazillion stitches, and all of a sudden you are so bogged down and you quit. So you have to understand that this is like reading a book when you were 4 years old, when you were building your knowledge, that you just didn't pick up the dictionary after you were only 4 years old. You worked your way up throughout the progression of your schooling in order to build up to the words that you know. So what we do here in the crochetcrowd.com is that we challenge you, and the whole point of this, some people think the challenge is to win the prize, but really essentially the challenge is to build the skills today so you can use them tomorrow. So when you're looking at patterns, start with something really simple such as a dishcloth or maybe even a scarf with repeat stitches, and then once you can do that you might get onto a more fancier stitch in the next, and then from that you might get into what you've already learned before plus even something more fancy, and that's how you can pick up your skills. You will see crocheters online that have not even crocheted a year that are crocheting amazing things, really truly amazing, in only a year. And most of these crocheters are because they're working step by step and building as they go in each project. So they don't get comfortable on just doing granny squares for a year. They do a granny square maybe the first time, and the next time they do a granny square plus something more different, and then they keep moving their skills. So challenge yourself work up like you're in grade school and work yourself up. So that is step number 4. Let's move along to finally step number 5. Now step number 5 is probably the most important one for me. Believe in yourself. Trust in yourself. This pattern that I'm wearing today, I really struggled with this one. Not because the designer made it tough, is that I was not following the pattern and I was not trusting in the pattern. So for example, in some patterns, and this is what I'm really guilty of, so I'm going to be quite honest with you, if I don't see the pattern materializing or taking its proper shape within the first 2 rounds or even rows, I get confused and I'm like, okay, something is just not right. Some of the tutorials that I've worked on throughout the years is that I will tell you, trust in yourself. You need to get beyond a certain point where you start seeing everything start to click, 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 and you start seeing the pattern materialize. In some of the designs that you'll find online is that some of the designs, they just won't make sense in the first 2 or 3 rounds, but you need to do the 2 or 3 rounds in order to create the base in order to get your project started. So I cannot stress enough that you need to believe into yourself the most. So that was step number 5. So that's it for today. Those are my 5 top tips when learning to read crochet patterns. You want to learn, it's ready there for you to learn. You want thousands of free patterns, it's just sitting right there. All it takes is just for you to have the desire to start. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd, and we'll see you.